What is going on, Crimson City? My name is Crimson CBAD, and we are here today, guys, with our Season 7 draft analysis for the GBA. I am your coach of the Detroit Steel Wings, and if you guys don't know, I rejoined the GBA. Fun fact. I know some of you guys might be like, what is going on right now? I thought we rejoined. We were asked to be, if we wanted to be included in a voting for a replacement coach in the season. I was like, you know what? This could be fun. This could be fun. So I asked, and the other coaches voted, and we are back. And today, guys, we're going to be discussing our draft breakdown for Season 7. The live draft was this past Sunday, in case you missed it. I believe it should be up over on the GBA channel. I'll have all the social links included in the description down below. Make sure you guys go check out all the coaches. A ton of phenomenal people who I not only enjoy working with, but a lot of new coaches who I have a lot of respect for in not only the content creating community, but also as battlers themselves. I'm really looking forward to the heat, so to say, that each coach is going to be bringing this weekend, or this weekend. This weekend, I'm excited to be battling Chris, aka Monatoy, and the Tampa Bay Lux Rays. The matchup on paper is going to be crazy, but I'll have that team builder up for you guys on Saturday. And without further ado, let's hop right into this. So we were last out of 16 coaches, which means we were kind of in a good position, I feel like, because we did get a lot of good. We had the wheel. If you don't know what a snake style format draft is, you guys didn't catch the draft. It went coaches 1 through 16, and then cycled back through 16 through 1. So every time we got to pick 2 Mons back to back. So if we found Mons that had good synergy, if we had some a nice good core going that we could work with, we could go with that. The first Mon overall drafted for this season of the GBA for the Detroit Steel Wings is Tornadus Therian, aka Kazajan. I went with Yu-Gi-Oh nicknames for all my Mons because I'm a dork and I love doing that. But Tornadus Therian is a really good Mon in draft format. It has the Regenerator ability, which you don't know what that does. Every time it switches out and switches back in, it gains back a third of its health, I believe. Let's double check. 1/3 of its max PP rounded down when it switches out. So that's awesome because it is a Mon that is weak to rocks, but with access to moves like U-turn and such, it does have the momentum to get in, land a hit, get back out really quickly, get that health back. So it can run Life Orb, it can run Choice in any fashion, it can run Assault Vest, it can run boosting items, it can run a whole bunch of stuff. Fantastic stats down the board. 79 HP, 100 base attack, 110 base special attack, and 121 speed. Really good speed tier to have. Not too many Mons drafted do outspeed this thing other than stuff like Jolteon, Greninja, Crobat, like your typical base 130 Mons. Tapu Koko, Xurkitree, stuff like that. So we did get a really good solid Mon with a lot of coverage moves. We can go through and break down. I mean, it has access to Special Sides, Air Slash, Hurricane, Psychic, Grass Knot, Heat Wave. It gets access to stuff like Dark Pulse. It can set up with Bulk Up. It can set up Agilities. It gets access to Knock Off, one of the best moves in the game, in my opinion. It has Tailwind support. It has Sludge Wave, or it has Sludge Bomb and Sludge Wave access for those pesky Fairy types who want to come in. U-turn, like I talked about, for getting in and out. Having access to be able to abuse that Regenerate ability as much as we can. Bunch of other, I mean, obviously hidden power access like every other Mon has. Iron Tail, it can set up rain if we want to. It can use role play if we want to take away somebody's pesky ability. It has a lot of really good attacking moves. It has a really wide pool of moves to choose from. And I thought having a really diverse Mon such as this right out of the gate would be really good. And then next in our list, you guys can already see on top of the screen what I'm going to be talking about. But next on our list, I always think in draft format, one of the best things to have is a solid fairy type. And I chose Sylveon. I chose Fairy King Troomsdale himself, the Sylveon. Clefable was around, and a lot of people were questioning my pick about that. A lot of people, as you break it down, a lot of people during the draft were talking about, oh, it looks like Crimson CBAD just drafted the UU tier. Well, for those of you who don't know, when I started YouTube, when I started competitive battling, it was primarily UU tier Pokemon. So I went with a lot of Pokemon going into this that I was comfortable with. It was a free draft. We had, there was no way that we had to choose certain monsters from each tier. It was whatever you want to grab, you grab it. And you go with it, and you perform to the best of your abilities. So I went with the Mon that I was super comfortable with. Clefable was around. I wasn't hyper comfortable bringing Clefable. I wanted to go with Sylveon. I love Sylveon. I think it has a really good potential, not only as a offensive Pokemon, but as a defensive Pokemon as well. Take a look at its base stats. 95 base HP, 110 base special attack, 130 base special defense, so it can be really bulky. It can be really offensive as well. The Pixelate nerf did come into Gen 7 as opposed to giving an extra 30% of the power, gives it 20%. But a pixelated Hyper Voice from a Sylveon is still nothing to sleep on, especially with that. It has Baton Pass support, it has access to Calm Mind, it has access to Heal Bell, so we have a Cleric. We can Magic Coat back Hazard should we so need to. We get access to moves like Quick Attack. We can do a pixelated Quick Attack. We can run a physical Sylveon if so need be. Wish support is always huge in this. It has access to screens. It's obviously throw off Toxics here and there. We can run a Curse Sylveon if need be. Curse Sylveon's nothing to sleep on, ladies and gentlemen. Curse, I want to bring it. I don't think I'll ever bring it, but part of me wants to bring it. Again, access to Rain Dance if need be. Sunny Day, it can set up both of those. It has a lot of really good moves, and even though Speed Passing was banned, we can still use moves like Work Up. We can use moves like Calm Mind, and we can Baton Pass those around. Baton Pass Wishes. Use those. We can always run a super hyper offensive, maybe with like a Calm Mind 3 attack set. We can pass around some wishes. We can Toxic Stall if need be. I do in the GBA. It is all about the W in my opinion, and I will play to get that W. So if we need a Stally Sylveon, guess what your boy is bringing for that week of the matchup. But really good moveset in my opinion. Really solid, bulky Pokemon if need be. And that was our first wheel. We got a really diverse Mon offensively, and we got, in my opinion, a really diverse Mon defensively, because it does. Good fairies are not too hard, or not good to come by, unless you always. I feel like fairies are always something you need to prep for in draft format. Sylveon being not only a Mon diverse defensively but also offensively as well is something they need to prepare for. Is Crimson going to be bringing a offensive Sylveon this week? Is he going to be bringing a defensive Sylveon this week? Am I going to put so much thought into the prep on Sylveon that he doesn't even bring it? Now I have all these checks for a Mon that doesn't even come on the roster this week. Next up here on our next wheel, I decided to bring two offensive powerhouses that I absolutely love. And the first one here is Fire Yaru or Entei. Entei is a phenomenal Pokemon. Let's take a look at the stat breakdown really quickly. Base 115 HP and attack. Base 100 speed is a phenomenal speed tier in my opinion. Base 90 special attack, just in case we feel like running a special Entei. Calm Mind access, Eruption, Scarfed Eruptions. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness, my toes are curling. Iron Head, Lava Plume, obviously. Sacred Fire, one of the best moves in the game. 50% chance to burn the target. Obviously has Will-O-Wisp support, which is huge. Gets access to moves like Stone Edge, Bulldoze. We can do a lot of things with this. Iron Tail if need be. This thing can also set up the rain for whatever reason. It gets access to Solar Beam, which is huge. We've seen how successful certain coaches have been with things like Power Herb, Solar Beam, or a Weakness Policy special set. I look really forward because not too much switches in on a Choice Banded Sacred Fire or Flare Blitz. And especially if they're not anticipating a special set, especially if they're not anticipating a supportive set on Entei, that could be really, really huge advantage for us. Speaking of another diverse Mon, my favorite Mon in draft format, Krookodile, aka Krookodileus, the cousin of Instigator from Season 5. Let's take a look at Krookodile's the stats really quickly. 95 base HP, 117 base attack, good lord, 92 speed, 80 defense, 70 special defense, nothing to talk about in the special attack, but it does have two phenomenal stabs in both ground and dark. Gets access to the best moves in the game, Earthquake and Knockoff in my opinion. Two very phenomenal abilities in Intimidate and Moxie. Intimidate, obviously, if we wanted a defensive stat, force a lot of switches on our opponents. Moxie as well for taking advantage of potential sweeps, whether it's a Scarf user, whether we just want to start hitting heavy and start getting Moxie boosters and landing these hits. We can take a look at some of the coverage he gets. Aqua Tail, Bulk Up, obviously it gets Crunch, Earthquake, Dragon Tail, Foul Play. It gets Home Claws, Knockoff, Low Kick, Outrage, Stone Edge, obviously. It can be a speedy taunt user if need be. It gets access to Stealth Rocks as well. Beat Up, we all know I love my Beat Up Krookodile. Gets access to Counter as well, which is huge if we decide to run a defensive set. It gets Me First, and I'll talk about that in a second. What else did it get? It gets Snarl if need be. It gets Thunder Fang. It gets Fire Fang as well, if I'm not mistaken. It does get Fire Fang as well, so it has a ton of coverage moves in my opinion. And one of the reasons that I want to specify Krookodile's access to coverage moves is that we did choose Krookodile as our Z captain for the season. And a lot of people, as we go further in the list, a lot of people will look at a lot of my mons and say, why choose Krookodile? I thought, in my opinion, what could be the best Pokemon to have to take advantage of a huge Z-move hit. And I thought a Moxie user would be very good, because if we can go for a Z-move and knock out something, that's a free Moxie boost. And all of a sudden the other coach is in a situation where they need to plan for a +1 Krookodile on the field all of a sudden. And they just lost one of their Mons out of nowhere. And I do want to talk about it. It gets access, like I said, talked about Aqua Tail, talked about stuff like Dragon Claw, Dragon Tail, Earthquake. Knockoff gets a bunch of different elemental coverage. It gets a lot of type coverage, which we can take advantage of with these Z crystals. But it does also get access to move like Z Bulk Up, Z Me First, Z Stealth Rock if need be, if that's a situation that we run ourselves into. A lot of really superpower, a base 120 fighting type attack going out into an all-out pummeling. It's very awesome the amount of coverage this thing gets. I really thought that this right here, not only the amount of coverage that Krookodile gets, but also the fact that a Moxie boosted Krookodile could definitely take advantage of one of these Z moves. I thought that was going to be the best situation for the team. And like I said, we'll keep talking about the team as it breaks down. That was our next wheel. I want to get a little bit of bulk, a little more bulk behind our team right now, because we do have a lot of our bulk right now comes with Sylveon, and if we decide to run a defensive Krookodile as well. So the next mon coming in is Nico Main, our Slowking here. I'm very familiar with Slowbro, and I'm very familiar with bulky water types in draft formats, and I thought a Pokemon that could go well with our Regenerator Slowking is a Regenerator Tornadus Therian would be another Regenerator user, being Slowking. Slowking, let's take a look at Slowking's stats really quickly here. 95 base HP, 100 base special attack, and 110 base special defense. Oh my goodness. Does have a lot of bulk behind it. With that regenerability ability, we can abuse it. It also has a ton of good coverage moves, in my opinion. Access to things like Blizzard, Aqua Tail, Avalanche. Gets Dragon Tail for phasing out any sort of setup mons that want to take advantage of us. Gets access to Earthquake, Flamethrower, and Fire Blast for those pesky grass steel types or grass types that think they're safe on us. Gets access to Screens, gets access to Nasty Plot, Power Gem. It gets Psychic and Psyshock, obviously. Slack Off for the recovery, which is huge. We can also take advantage of that. T-Wave access, even though T-Wave was nerfed in Gen 7, I am looking forward to bringing that, being able to nerf the speed of opposing Pokemon as well. It can also be a trick user. It does have access to things like Amnesia. I mean, Belly Drum, obviously we're never going to bring a Belly Drum Slowking. If we do, we're Lords. Things like Icy Wind, Ice Beam, stuff like that. Psych Up in case we want to double any stat changes if people feel like Calm Minding all over my Slowking. We can bring a Psych Up user and we can abuse their stat changes, making it that much harder for my opponent to use. I think Slowking has a lot of potential. It is weak to knockoff, unfortunately, but it does have a lot of potential not only as a more offensive mon, if we choose to run a bulky offensive mon, but it does have a lot of potential as well as a defensive wall. It does have the ability to hinder a lot of opposing Pokemon if they choose to set up with things like Thunder Wave. We can put them on a timer with Toxic. We can phase them out with things like Dragon Tail. I thought it was really good, and then looking at our team, we really have nothing to get rid of hazards right now. We have absolutely nothing, and we have two solid Fire and Water Mons, so I wanted to go with the Grass Mon, and I really liked Tsareena, aka Cosmo Queen. It's Gen 7. I wanted to use a Gen 7 mon. I thought it'd be really cool to experiment with them in draft formats. I think at this point, I was one of the first few coaches. I'm trying to remember. I think I was either one of the first few coaches to draft a Gen 7 mon that was not either a Tapu or an Ultra Beast, or I was one of the few coaches to not draft a Gen 7 mon yet. So let's take a look at Tsareena really quickly. Tsareena has base 72 HP, base 120 attack. Oh my lord. Base 98 defense, base 98 special defense with a base 72 speed. So not a bad speed tier to have. A lot of bulk behind it, not in comparison to things like Slowking. Base 120 attack, pure grass typing, Queenly Majesty ability. While this Pokemon is active, allies are protected from opposing priority moves. So if the only thing the opponent has left, and they're locked into, so say we're locked in against a Lucario who's locked into Bandit Extreme Speed or something, or a Dragonite with Bandit Extreme Speed, they struggle against us. They can't do anything because of Queenly Majesty, so that's awesome. It does also have Leaf Guard in case they decide to run a Sun. I believe Duncan drafted Torkoal, so he's got access to Drought. Other people could be bringing Sun teams if they so choose to. But let's take a look at the movesets it gets access to. It has access to things like Acrobatics. It has Aromatherapy, so it can also be a Cleric if you don't feel like running Sylveon. It has access to things like Facade, obviously. High Jump Kick, base 130 fighting type attack. That's incredibly awesome. Its signature move, where is it? Where is Trop Kick? Where's Trop Kick? Base 70 power, it stabs, so that gets boosted up an extra 50%. 100% chance to lower the target's attack by 100%. That, by one stage, excuse me. That is huge for forcing switches. It does have access to both screens. It has access to Play Rough. It has access to Rapid Spin. It can synthesis things. It can toxic things. It has Acupressure if we feel like pulling a Super Blah. It has Grass Whistle, 55% accuracy, but who knows. Gets access to things like Low Sweep, which can reduce the target stat by the speed by 1. Has access to Sunny Day, like I said. Teeter Dance. It has a lot of cool moves that I'm looking forward to using. It does have really good defenses. We can run a bulky spinner. We can run an offensive Tsareena as well. I thought this mon kind of fit in really well in our Fire, Water, Grass core. We've got two mons that really hold both of Entei's weaknesses very well. very, very well. They all synergize together very well, I feel like, if we just, depending on how we run them each week. I think it's going to be really good. Those are the first 6 mons that we drafted. And then the next wheel we're coming up to, I did want to take another turn to get a more powerhousey wheel. And the next mon that I chose was the Blue Eyes White Dragon itself. Kyurem, obviously, it doesn't have blue eyes, but you guys see where I'm going with this. Kyurem was still around. I wanted a dragon type mon. I wanted something to fit well in a steel dragon fairy core, if you will. And Kyurem was still around. And this thing is a monster. Look at this thing's stats. 125 base HP, 135 base attack, 130 base special attack, 95 base speed. Defenses are still pretty good, both base 90s around the board. Pressure ability, so pressure stalling does come into advantage if we ever do need it. Has tons of access moves, Ancient Power, Blizzard, Draco Meteor, Dragon Pulse, Dragon Tail for phasing out sweepers, Earth Power, Flash Cannon, Focus Blast. It has Hone Claws, Ice Beam, Iron Head, Outrage, Psychic, Rock Slide, Roosting in case we ever need to get some recovery back on us, Shadow Ball, Shadow Claw, Signal Beam, Stone Edge, Zen Headbutt. Has access to other moves. I didn't even know it got Brutal Swing. We could run Brutal Swing if we wanted to. It's absolutely crazy. Has access to Glaciate, which is also really cool. It's a very powerful Icy Wind. It has Icy Wind, too. Lowering speed. It has Rock Tomb. Again, lowering speed, being able to be in speed control. Has access to Steel Wing. I mean, come on. I thought it was a really good mon. Thought it fit very well offensively with our team right now. We did lack some coverage that it did have to offer, and I thought it paired very well with our next mon, which is Cobalion, aka Super War Lion. Cobalion is a personal favorite mon of mine in the competitive format, not just draft format, but even in its own respective tier. I think it's an absolute phenomenal mon. Looking at its stat breakdown right now, 91 base HP, 90 base attack, 129 base defense. Whoa. Oh my gosh. Base 90 special attack, base 72 special defense, and then 108 speed. Really good speed tier. Second fastest mon on our team right now. Really good speed tier to be sitting at. We do outspeed a lot of base, all the base 100s, assuming they're not scarfed. We do have a lot of setup opportunities with this mon. We also hit super hard. Nothing wants to take a stab close combat from a Cobalion. Has access to Calm Mind. Close combat, like I said, Flash Cannon and Focus Blast should we choose to run a special side of Cobalion, excuse me. Obviously has hidden power access. Hone Claws, Iron Head, Poison Jab for all those pesky fairy types I talked about. Rock Polish. Rock Polish Cobalion is awesome, especially in the speed tier that it's at. An uninvested Cobalion getting a +2 speed boost is absolutely huge. Sacred Sword, Stone Edge. It has Rock Actus. We have another mon that can take the pressure off of Krookodile, bringing rocks every week. Superpower, it has access to Sword Dance. It's also a fast taunt user that we can use to prevent any mons from wanting to set up, wanting to get hazards on a status ailment, stuff like that. Has access to Thunder Wave. It has access to Volt Switch, so we have more Switch initiative on our team as well. X Scissors and Headbutt. It can run Aerial Ace. It can run Bounce. It can run... what else can it run? It can set up Iron Defense. It can go for a Magnet Rise in case somebody wants to be cheeky and hit us with an Earthquake. What else does it have? It has Work Up as well in case we want to set up both our attack and special attack. So, again, another mon that can be run very diverse. People do need to prep a lot for not only Kyurem beforehand, but also Cobalion. Depending on looking at their team, do I think, are they going to prepare themselves for a physical attack in Cobalion? All of a sudden I go for a Calm Mind, start firing off some Focus Blasts. Am I going to be more of a supportive set with Thunder Wave, Volt Switch, Stealth Rock, Stab Move, depending on what I am going to do. Excuse me, oh my goodness. But that is why I picked Cobalion. With having only one spinner on the team so far, I did want to grab another mon that could potentially get rid of hazards. And I also wanted, I wanted a poison type. We've got another dark type on the team, and Skuntank was looking really good. Skuntank has some decent stats right here. Base 103 HP, 93 attack, 84 speed. It has some really cool abilities with Stench and Aftermath. One of the things I didn't talk about with Cobalion, excuse me, was its Justified ability. Justified raising the attack stage by 1 if it is damaged by a dark type move. So we tank a knockoff on the switch if we can predict it. Get a +1 boost. Now all of a sudden it puts my opponent in a situation where, how do I switch in on a +1 Cobalion? How do I take a +1 Cobalion? What is this thing about to do to me? So, Karibo, our Skuntank here, has the Stench ability. The Pokemon's attacks without a chance to flinch have 10% chance to flinch. And then the Aftermath ability, where if the Pokemon is KO'd by a contact move, the move's user loses 1/4 of its max HP. So, two really good abilities in my opinion. Let's take a look at its moveset really quickly here. It has access to things like Acid Spray for forcing switches. It has access to Crunch and Dark Pulse, two really good stab type moves should we choose to run either a physical or special side. Has access to things like Fire Blast and Flamethrower for any of those pesky grass or steel types that we may see running around. Has access to Haze for taking care of any sort of setup sweepers that think they can set up on Skuntank. We hit him with a Haze and it is all good to go. Has access to Memento, which is huge for forcing switches. Lowers the attack and special attack by 2 stages. Really phenomenal move. Has access to things like Hone Claws, Night Slash, Play Rough, Poison Jab. Obviously, it has Roar also for phasing out any hazards. Has priority in Sucker Punch. Also another taunt user, which is really cool. Flame Burst, obviously. Where is my defog? Did I pass defog? Does it not get defog anymore? It has defog. It is another defogger, so we can take spinning pressure off of Tsareena for removing hazards. Unfortunately, that does remove our own hazards at the same time, but it will be a situational thing. Week in and week out, we'll decide what we need to run and when we need to run it. I want to make sure there was no other moves that I was sleeping on. This thing gets access to Snarl, Venom Drench, Venoshock, things like that. If we can poison a Pokemon with Toxic or get a poison off of something like Poison Jab, we can run things like Venom Drench or Venoshock to take advantage of that as well. I think a really good mon right here. And one of the things we're missing at this point that a lot of people might have been noticing is that we're missing an electric type. And unfortunately, I was not able to get Tapu Koko or Xurkitree like I wanted. Fast electric types are awesome. I thought that Valkyrie and the Magnet Warrior, aka Magneton, was a phenomenal Pokemon that fits very well with our team synergy right now. Very bulky, an Eviolite abuser. Chansey was still around, and everybody hates Chansey and everybody hates Eviolite abusers, but I think Magneton's a really cool Pokemon because, again, it's another mon that people need to prepare for. It does have that glaring 4x weakness, and it does add a secondary Steel type to our team right now, giving us that extra ground weakness, but hear me out. Magneton has phenomenal stats as far as its base defensive being 95, obviously due to that Steel typing, and then base 120 special attack. 70 base speed is really good. It has, in my opinion, two phenomenal abilities, and then one okay ability. The one okay ability being Sturdy, living one hit, being able to fire off an attack in return, being able to Thunder Wave it, do something like that. The other two phenomenal abilities being not only Magnet Pull, but Analytic. Magnet Pull being able to trap Steel-type Pokemon, that is something that people do need to prepare for. Something like a Skarmory, a Celesteela, a Ferrothorn, a Scizor stays in on us, and they're not carrying Shed Shell. I can guarantee to OHKO with like an HP Fire, unless they're running Akaberry or if they're running Wakanberry for the electric type attacks. I can pretty much do a ton of damage, if not destroy them, because a base 120 special attack stab Thunderbolt from Magneton is very, very brutal in my opinion. Also, Analytic. So Magnet Pull for being able to trap those pesky Steel types that could plague our team otherwise. And then Analytic, the Pokemon's attack power will have an extra 30% if it is the last to move in a turn. So being a bulkier mon, having a base 70 speed, it will be outsped by a lot of more physically prevalent mons. Also, say the opponent is bringing a Steel-type Pokemon, and they think we are Magnet Pull, and they ran Shed Shell for that. They're going to be like, oh, I'm going to switch out so he doesn't trap me. Guess what? I'm Analytic boosted. Whatever switches in takes an extra 30% damage. If people don't have an electric resist or a steel resist or what have you, or an immunity, an electric immunity in this case, it will be very hard for them to take that hit. It'll be very, very hard. As far as coverage moves, nothing too crazy. Obviously, it's got access to like Discharge, Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, all that fun stuff. Flash Cannon, Signal Beam, Thunder Wave, and Toxic, obviously, for status ailing their team. Volt Switch, it gets Wild Charge. That's absolutely crazy. Charge Beam in case we feel like being cheeky. Gets things like Gravity, gets things like Magnet Rise. Magnet Rise right there. Takes away that 4x weakness. There we go. Can set up Sunny Day. Can set up a Rain Dance if need be. Whatever we want to do. It does have a lot of potential in my opinion. Honestly, it also has Volt Switch, which takes in turn Pokemon that get access to moves like U-Turn. I believe Tsareena gets U-Turn. I don't know if I talked about that, but adds in well the Switch initiative with our team right now. And that leaves our last mon. Probably, honestly, the most controversial pick of the entire draft, and honestly, one that I'm not 1,000% set on, but I thought it'd be cool to draft it just in case. Worst case scenario, we free agented in a few weeks. But was Oricorio, aka our Stealth Bird. Drafting Oricorio gives us access to all 4 forms of Oricorio, being Oricorio Bio, or Ballet, whatever it is, Oricorio Power, Oricorio Pom Pom, and Oricorio Sensu, giving us access to the Fire, Psychic, Electric, and Ghost types of Oricorio. The Dancer ability is really huge. After a Pokemon uses another dance move, this Pokemon uses the same move. Things like Swords Dance, things like Dragon Dance, things like Teeter Dance, things like Whatever Dance, things like Fire Dance. I know Volcarona was drafted. Gives us access to be able to predict that, go in for a switch, get that Dancer boost off. I think it's really cool as far as the moves that it gets access to, things like Agility, things like Baton Pass, obviously speed boosting, speed passing. It was banned in the GBA this season, but it can Baton Pass for Switch initiatives. Gets access to things like Calm Mind, gets access to Hurricane, one of the strongest flying move in the game, gets access to Revelation Dance. Type varies based on the user's primary type, so it does have a base 90 stab move such as Fire, Electric, Ghost, or Psychic, like I said. Tailwind support, it has access to Swords Dance. We can baton pass the Swords Dance off to something. Gets U-turn ability as well. Things like Air Cutter if we don't feel like running Hurricane that certain week. Things like Feather Dance lowers the target's attack by 2. Definitely something to consider as far as a very niche Pokemon for setting up and forcing switches. Gets Mirror Move. Gets Steel Wing again, yeah! Gets Teeter Dance. Work Up, another thing that we can pass around. So we do have Baton Pass support. We have a lot of Switch initiative on our team. Again, I'm not too sure how I feel about Oricorio. I thought it was cool just because it was like, oh, last mom, what can I get? Oh, I can get 4 Pokemon in one. Cool, awesome. So that is the draft. That is season 7 of the GBA, the Detroit Steel Wings roster. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I'm really excited to be back. It has been a while since I've played in a league of this caliber. I'm really looking forward to seeing what each one of the coaches brings each week in each week in and week out. One of my favorite things every GBA Sunday, sitting down and watching all the battle videos that all the coaches post every single week. So hope you guys look forward to our battle each and every week. We will have a team builder up on every Saturday, and we will have a battle up on every Sunday. I'm still debating whether I'm going to do a live comm or if I'm going to do a post comm battle. I find that I battle better if I'm under post comm because I'm not worried about the entertainment value of the battle so much as making sure that I took the W. But let me know, like I said, down in the comment section down below. If you guys have enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like on this video, showing your support for the Detroit Steel Wings in this season of the GBA. As always, guys, I do want to remind you to be great and do great. I'm going to let this outro bang, and I'm going to talk to you guys soon. Later.